Hi and welcome back to the channel. First thing this week, just want to thank everyone for their comments and interactions on last week's video, which was the first
Emotive subject, right?
Absolutely, was the first of a two-part series, which leads me on to Shelley. What are we talking about this week?
So yeah, this week is part 2 of your biggest fears. These were the fears that we compiled from places like Reddit, Facebook, online forums about the things that people fear the most. So obviously last week we covered weather, nature, wildfires. This week we're going to tackle the rest. But we're going to do it vlog style. So we're going to take you on a dog walk, which is why we're not looking our normal glamorous selves. So yeah, let's get going. So, bureaucracy and immigration is number 1 on the list, and there's no surprises there. And I think a sort of couple of things are, you should be fearful of it, okay? It is, if you're in a country where you've never had those sort of problems, you know, because you speak the language and kind of everything works, you know how to do things, and then you come here and you don't speak the language and you don't know how to do things, I can tell you now, and Gary will verify this.
Absolutely, 100%.
Your patience will be tested to the absolute limit. And I don't care how patient you might be as a person, for sure there will be something that sends you to the end of your tether.
Without a shadow of a doubt, yes.
So, you know, I'm afraid it is what it is. And you do learn to navigate the system, don't you? Would you say?
Yes, you do.
You learn to get better at doing things. But even yesterday, I wanted to change my address on my bank account because it was incorrect. I'm now on attempt 8 and I've given up because it doesn't work the way it should.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is a rightful fear. But what we would say in balance is you do learn to kind of navigate it, and you get a whole new level of patience you never realised you had.
Yeah, so immigration links in with that bureaucracy. Well, obviously I have some experience of that myself. Immigration itself is obviously, and I want to put this into context, you know, there's a lot of people trying to come to Portugal at the moment, and you've got a system change where it's changed over from one group. What was the old name of
it? It was CEF.
CEF. So the old group was CEF, and it's changed over to IMA. I mean, effectively they're the same, but obviously it's a big organisational change, and so there's a lot going on there. And I think,
volume.
Yeah, and I think that you know that realistically that does mean that waits are longer. It's not as efficient as it should be, so on and so forth.
Halfway through your application.
Yeah, but it's about being, I think,
you
know, and I understand that as a fear for many because you hear lots of horror stories about it. But it's a case of being resilient, is keeping going, sticking to your guns, and just forcing through whatever it is you need to get done, because you will get there eventually.
Yeah, you will. And if you need professional help, don't be embarrassed to get it. If you want someone to tell you exactly what you need to do and how to do it and when to do it, that's what immigration lawyers are for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's an option.
Yeah.
But yeah, just check. That's all you can do.
Portuguese language. Now, it's clear that European Portuguese is a difficult language to learn, especially if you're coming from English as well. So I think the thing is that you've got to look at it and say, what is the easiest way for me to learn this language? So you've got to look at different ways, whether it's involving yourself with people, whether it's going to classes, Whatever it is, you've got to find the style and the way that's going to work for you. And I think importantly as well is most people think you turn up in Portugal and you've got to learn that language in like 6 months to a year. And no, 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 no. You give yourself some time. Do not beat yourself up. Give yourself some space. And a good way to look at it is to say, well, I'm going to learn some basic phrases first off, you know, really simple stuff. Hello, goodbye, please, thank you, where is the toilet, whatever. Learn those basic phrases and then you can start to build on that. And that is a good way to go around it. But you've got to find the way that works for you. The important thing is, though, is not to be afraid of it. You know, we hear stories of people who say, I can't, and they can't learn the language. And as soon as you say that, then you are absolutely putting that brick wall up in front, which makes it very difficult for you to move forward with the language. So never say, I can't, just take your time and be kind to yourself.
So the rise of Chega and that kind of far-right politics is a real concern. I'm seeing that appearing more and more in Facebook groups and online forums. And the far right is kind of gaining power across the world in every country. It's not like Portugal specific, but let's actually look and take a look at some facts on Chega. Okay, so that's kind of the facts. In terms of our experience of living here, I can honestly say I've never experienced any form of anti-immigrant sentiment. Had really good chats with Portuguese friends about it, but we've never experienced it. I would say the closest that we have got to experiencing it is the odd comment on our YouTube channel where people tell us to go home. But you always have to remember, in any party, even if the politics are good, you know, there'll always be people that take things to extremes and kind of tar everyone with the same immigration brush. And that's their problem, not yours. You be proud to live here. We pay our taxes. Don't let those things make you fearful.
So where money is concerned, there's always fear, there's always anxiety. So really on that front, that cost of living front, there is obviously things like fuel, let's say, for example. Actually, Portugal can be more expensive than both, certainly the US, and it can be on a par with the UK.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a fallacy around fuel being cheaper. It's not, and there is a fear of that as a representative cost. Now the next one is food as well. People are fearful of that because the food prices are going up, but they're going up globally. So I don't think any of us can escape the clutches of the food giants that are putting food prices up. And also just for the fact that even your local producers, their costs are going up, so they've got to make changes to the costs as well.
Climate, weather affects the prices.
Exactly, there's a whole host of things. Obviously, this has a knock-on effect to rent and property and things like that. So, rent and property prices can be higher than maybe you anticipated, and that's something to be fearful of. But I think, like
and
everything,
rising still,
and
sadly.
rising, yeah. But you know, it's a contextual thing. There are lots of other things you might be gaining when moving to Portugal.
Yeah.
And then there's taxes.
Yeah, I mean, talking about taxes and gaining when you come to Portugal, there is no doubt the taxes are higher, okay? There is no NHR anymore. There is no, you know, special allowances. So you come here, you are paying normal tax on your pension or your income, the same as any Portuguese person does. And they are higher, right? Because if you're self-employed like we are, you've got national insurance, which is social security, is 21% on top of your tax. So it's kind of like a second tax. So those things are more, but you have to put those things in perspective with things in the UK and the US like property taxes, which we've had some horrifying figures, haven't we, from clients?
Absolutely, yeah,
on
yeah.
property taxes.
Yeah.
Sorry, just smacking the dog to move him. Council tax in the UK is shockingly high.
Yeah.
And remember, in the US, you pay a huge amount for healthcare. So even if you're buying private healthcare in Portugal, you are still going to probably find that you're spending a lot less than you would with some of those other costs being higher and the taxes being higher here. So you have to weigh everything up. But if you're moving because you want things to be cheap, it's probably not the right move to make, is what I would say. So fear number 5, getting ripped off and scams. Absolutely a validated fear. And I actually want you to be a little fearful when you come to Portugal about these things, because if you're fearful, you'll be careful. And it is all about being extra careful in everything that you do. So let's take some examples of some of those rip-offs, and we are going to do a whole video on this at one point. But let's talk about the main ones. Property, okay? In terms of properties being sold without their full paperwork is very common. Builders taking huge deposits from people, never showing up to do any work. That is fairly common, okay? You have to be very careful when you're employing builders. Things like consumer rights. The customer is not king in Portugal, okay? Gary and I have experienced this, haven't we, several times now, where actually you are not the king. So if you buy something and you change your mind and try and take it back to a shop, good luck. Not all of them will actually even exchange an item, let alone refund you. So always check things when you are leaving a shop as well to make sure that they work. So you do have to be very, very careful about how you shop, and just don't use companies that don't treat you well. So that's really key. Unlicensed taxi drivers, big problem in Lisbon. If you go into Lisbon as a tourist, or you go to visit, or you live there, you need to be aware of the unlicensed taxi drivers, and you need to be aware of some of the tourist scams there. And they're very easy to look up. Gary and I got scammed in Lisbon when we were doing our recce tour and we visited there. So that is quite common. Tourist prices are very prevalent. Tourist prices on tours. If you are looking to do a tour of the Douro, shop around. We've heard some ridiculous prices on tours, like €2,000 to take someone from Porto to Lisbon and see a couple of sites. I mean, they're just crazy numbers. Please don't compare things to the US. The prices are cheaper here for those things, and the dollar and the value and everything. So make sure you're looking at things for its value. Always use a lawyer. But be very careful, because lawyers and accountants don't always give you the full picture. You have to know what you're talking about and ask lots of supplementary questions. So we will cover this in a future video. But yes, this is a real fear. Forewarned is forearmed.
DOG is my BFF. DOG is my BFF. Clap your hands if you love your dog. Stomp your feet if you love your dog. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, say yahoo if you love your dog. Spin around if you love your dog. Go crazy if you love your dog. Spin around, go crazy, say yahoo if you love your dog. DOG is my BFF. DOG is my BFF. All I wanna do is pet a pet, because DOG is my BFF. Always by my side.
healthcare and aging, two inevitable things in life, are that you will become unwell at some point, and aging is inevitable as well. So in Portugal, I think what you can think about there is, if you're into the public system, there can be long waits for things. So that's just something to bear in mind. And perhaps that is what generates a little bit of the fear, is that you might have to wait a long time for a consultant's appointment, or even your local GP appointment as well, just for a simple visit. So bear that in mind, but obviously getting into the system is a really essential thing to do if you can, but you'll need residency status at least to do that. Now, private insurance here is a good way to go up against that fear, because private insurance is pretty affordable. And in fact, even without the insurance, if you were to just go and outright pay for a consultation or some treatment, then those costs are going to be much more favourable than, let's say, certainly the US and the UK as well. So you can get some relatively priced insurances as well, and they are really going to help you to just manage some of the costs associated with healthcare. Now, one of the things is, so even if you do get in the public system, then when you go to hospitals or doctor's appointments, that language barrier that we talked about earlier, that can prove to be a little bit of an issue. So, it's very good to, maybe when we talked about that, to learn some basic phrases that might help you along in that situation. Not so much when you talk to them, it's when they talk back to you that could be an issue when it comes to healthcare. Okay, so the aging part, I guess thinking about things like dementia, care homes, and just things that you're going to need as you get older. There are systems and structures set up in Portugal. They might not be quite the same as what you're used to in the US and the UK, but there are systems set up. So it's a relative fear, so it's probably good to do some research about that if that is something that is going to worry you. One thing which has been really helpful, I think, for a lot of people is the immigrant groups, the expat groups, Facebook and what have you, where you can share experiences and find out from other people how to do things within that healthcare system. And obviously they might have some experience with aging partners or relatives themselves.
So loneliness and integrating into the community, that's a very, very obvious fear that everyone has. Will I fit in? How will the Portuguese accept me? Will I make friends? Particularly if you're an introvert, and actually Gary and I are introverts, and I know many people who have moved here who are introverts. And so that is a challenge in any aspect of life, let alone somewhere where you're the new kid again. And we've talked about this before. We've been here now full-time 2 years, and Gary has the odd bout of loneliness, in terms of, he said to me a couple of months ago, I just want a mate to go down the pub with and have a chat. And that person isn't kind of there anymore, because we're not in a village where he can say to the neighbour, oh, should we go down the pub for a pint? So it's things like that which are normal, that you have to change how you maybe did things in your previous life. But most immigrant communities will have Facebook groups, immigrant groups that you can join, that you can network with. If you're single, that you can meet other single people, to make friendships. And people are so much more open to being your friend. It's not like being back at home where you had your established friend group and you've got to middle age or whatever, and you think, oh my God, it's very hard to make new friends in middle age. And it is, but when you come to Portugal, everyone's in the same situation, and so people are much more open to making friendships, to reaching out. And we've made so many friends, that being introverts as well, since we've been here. And so a lot of it is pushing out of your comfort zone, and a lot of it is just, it is what you put into it. So go and volunteer, go and join a group, go and get involved in the local Portuguese events, and you'll be amazed what you get back in return. But so it is really going to be whatever you put in is what you're going to get out.
Driving and safety, possibly one of my favourite subjects, mainly because I'm a motorcyclist, and so that does add an extra degree of something to being on the road. Now, in Portugal, there are a lot of aggressive drivers. I'm not going to beat around the bush here, and Portuguese people, come at me all you like, but there is a lot of aggressive driving out there. And what I mean by that is people driving too fast. People only adhering to speed limits when there's GNR, Policia, or something which is going to stop them, like traffic lights or speed camera. Otherwise they'll ignore those speed limits. So there are things like that. The tailgating as well, very aggressive tailgating. Someone will drive up the rear of your vehicle at high speed, and then they will act in a way like you should be moving out the way for them. That is not an occurrence that happens just once or twice in a month. That is something that happens every time you go out on the road. So that's one thing, and one of the things that I'm telling you, one of the reasons I'm telling you about that is because you need to come prepared. So you need to possibly, the way I would look at it as a motorcyclist is you've got to anticipate what everyone else is doing on the road. And you've got to think, could that person pull out? Could that person make a maneuver which is not very safe? Could that person be driving too fast, etc., etc.? And work on the basis that every other road user is out to kill you. And if you live your life by that, then that is a really good way to do it. And that's kind of a motorcyclist way of thinking about it. Now, having said that, I'm not saying that it is all bad in Portugal, because there are some very, very good drivers as well. There are some very considerate drivers. And I think it follows on from the Portuguese personality that many of the drivers are actually quite respectful. It's just the high incidence of the less respectful ones, which is the issue. So don't be scared by it. Do prepare yourself for it. Get used to it and accept that that is the way things are going to be when you are driving in Portugal.
You're the cure to all my pains. 널 좋아하나 봐. 널 사랑하나 봐. 이제는 더 이상은 숨길 수 없잖아. 내일 더
That concludes our list of fears about moving to Portugal, our top fears about moving to Portugal. And I'm just going to say, remember, fear is there for a reason. Fear is there to prepare you. And that's exactly what fear is for.
That's a great saying. I love that.
So it's there to prepare you for what you may face. So use it to your advantage is what I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, if it was that bad, no one would move here. And there are lots of people that live here very happily. And actually, it is that preparation for the things that are, going to be challenging will help you to settle in, for sure.
Yeah. Now, what we'd love to know is if you're thinking about a move to Portugal, what are your fears? Do they tie in with the fears that we've put down?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, so, let us know if any of these really hit home with you, or indeed if there's anything that we missed off that list, which is a fear for you, because that would be interesting to find out. And obviously, if you're already here, what really resonates with you from that list? Or again,
or
is
what
there
became
anything
a
else?
real fear before and actually it was validated when you got here?
Exactly, yes. So we'd love to know that. So please do leave a comment and let us know what you think. Like and subscribe as always, please, and thank you.
Yes, please.
And that is going to wrap it up for this week.
It is.
I think it's about time we got these dogs back so we could have some breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast, most important.
Okay, that's it for this week. We will see you next time.
Ta-ra
for now.
Oh